members. Council position number 1, Joe Armand.
I am here.
And now mayor-elect, is that true?
I would hesitate to say that until it has been officially ratified.
Well, we're gonna say
By the clerk's office.
congratulations if it's
Thank
not
you.
true. If it is true, okay.
Okay.
Council position number 2, David Budrus.
I am present.
Very good. Council position number 3 is not here. That's Chris Moritz. Excuse me. That is Stephen Hardy. Here. Council position number 4 is Chris Moritz. He's not present. And council position number 5, Levi Shank. Not present at this moment. I haven't heard from him this evening. So that concludes roll call, and we'd like to recognize any of our visitors. For the record? Danita Simon. And?
Crystal Hickman.
And Crystal Hickman.
Peter Davenport.
Thank you, folks. Welcome to our meeting. First thing on our agenda tonight is to approve the minutes from October 11th. Anybody need to look at a copy?
I'm good.
I read through them today. Only thing I have is just I think it was a spell check typo on the last page. On the 11th, yeah. The word accept, E-X-P-E-C-T, was used, and it should have been A-C-C-E-P-T, accept. I accepted it instead of exception.
Where is that, Joe?
Last page, I believe. Maybe it was the second to last page.
Okay. Let's get this clear so we get it corrected. Except,
Yeah, bottom of the second to last page.
yeah, under action, Councilman Hardy has made a motion to accept resolution 248, 2023.
Okay, maybe do you have a hard copy? I'll just gander at that just a second, make sure I'm looking at the same.
Sure.
Thank you.
We had two to look at. Yeah, it's that
Uh-oh.
one. It was the second to last page.
Well, I was just looking at a vote.
I believe I didn't get here until
Let's see,
8 o'clock.
there's approval of September 27th. Okay, that's approval. Because I wasn't at the last,
Oh, that's,
I just, but that was a workshop.
yeah, we
slash
didn't,
meeting.
we did not,
Do anything.
we did not approve
Anything.
these November, or
So,
these minutes.
so we're good. I just wonder how we got to a 400 or 400 when there was 5 of us here.
Yeah,
I think we're good. I'll blame it on the computers.
I think we were moving right along in the very beginning, so I think that was before Levi got here.
Yeah, it was. Well, I am good with them. And, Mr. Mayor, you can have your.
We haven't had a motion on the
I,
floor yet.
I'll make a motion to accept as corrected.
And I'll accept, and I second it.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to accept the minutes for October 11th as written with one correction. Any further discussion?
I'm good.
All right. So, all in favor of approval of accepting the minutes with the exception noted already, please signify by saying aye.
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 Did I hear from you, Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Thank you. Opposed, the same? Okay, motion carries 3-0-0. 3-1.
3-0-0.
3-0-0.
3-0. Correct. Number 2 on our docket tonight, to approve the minutes from the 25th of October.
I didn't see anything in those that need corrected. So,
Anybody need to look at that one?
I'm good over here.
Okay.
how's it looking, Stephen? Is our audio even where they're? Okay.
This mic working okay, Stephen? I've got the guest mic here at the moment.
What's yours turn? This is 52.
So did we get a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from the 25th?
I move to approve as written.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, we've got a motion and a second on the floor for the minutes from the 25th.
I'm good.
So,
Stephen, did you want to have a little more time? Okay, Paul's got a motion and a second to approve the minutes as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
And I will say aye, even though I was absent for that meeting, but I listened to it on YouTube and read the minutes as presented, so I have an aye vote as well.
Thank you, David. Okay, motion carries 3-0. Thank you, council. Number 3 on our list tonight is to reserve the check register for 10/11 and the claims for the third quarter.
Third quarter payroll.
Yes.
Yeah. Are we looking at
That one,
this one?
yes.
Okay.
You're looking at check register right now?
Yeah. Looking at the check register.
882 is the first transaction.
I always get this mixed up. We've already approved these. We're
Yes,
just
that part you have, that's
just
correct.
verifying that that's what was actually written. Okay. We don't necessarily have to vote this in, do we? Just have to sign it
No,
off?
just look
Okay.
at it.
Yep.
And the second section, I believe, is the third quarter payroll taxes. There again, they've already been paid. This is for you guys to have a visual of.
These are more comfortable.
I'm gonna sit right in front of you. Yeah, you're good with that. That's right.
Does this one have to be approved? Okay.
No, it does not. You're just observing the check register from
For the-
the 13th.
For the payroll?
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
You want
Everybody's had a chance to look at that?
It looks good to me.
Okay. The next item on there is to approve the payroll for October 23.
That's the first through the 31st.
That's correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll and payroll taxes.
I'll second it.
Make sure I'm clear, we're looking at the one that's 10-1 to 10-31, correct?
Yeah, it starts with transaction 944 at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
Evening.
I'm the
Eve-
director.
Oh.
How are you? Peter Evans. Yep, good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Your name?
I'm Representative Joe Schmidt. I represent this area in Olympia.
There you go. Thank you. You're now on the record.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second, right?
Yes, we
No.
do.
Did we get
Yes.
one there?
I second it.
Sorry.
Joe motioned it.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Open the floor for discussion.
I'm good here.
I'm good also.
Okay, all in favor of accepting the payroll as written, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, the same. Thank you, council. Motion carries 3-0-0. And the last part of this meeting is to approve the new claims.
The highlighted, the color,
Yep.
colorful ones.
Yes,
Yes.
they are.
Move to approve.
Second.
That was David seconded that?
Yes.
Thank you. So we've got a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I didn't do the math to verify this, but Donna, is the Lincoln County Public Works is kind of wide on its presentation. Is the 2201 part of the 2671, or are they two separate numbers? Yes. Oh, is that our green and recycled waste? So they're two.
So a total.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. you
No,
asked
that, thank you. That's,
the same question I did.
I'm good.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'm okay.
I got a motion and a second to approve the claims as written. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Sorry, I'm a little bit behind on one thing.
That's okay. We'll stop right there.
I should have spoke up during discussion. I'm just trying to double check this amount that's a reimbursement towards myself,
Okay?
because I think there might be something off with that. But let me get my calculator up here. Oh, how about that?
Go ahead, clear that up.
Yeah.
Going old school.
Hey, it's a new school, works well.
Yeah.
I have one on my computer that throws up advertisements all the time.
So there was two figures, I don't have it in front of me right now, Stephen, that I know we added together to come up with this at the meeting when we presented those receipts.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we're getting to 288.79. Because so there's two factors at play. The UPS, the total before tax is, let me read this before I respond here. Yes, that part's correct, and then, 30, yeah. The phone transfer fee. I have not yet presented the document for the phone transfer fee. So as much as I hate to kick it out, I would prefer that we amend that to just do the 253.79 until I present that document. Because the city's not in receipt of the official invoice for that. Only for the UPS. So I would request an amendment of these claims to change the reimbursement to me from $288.79 to $253.79.
Okay, do we need to,
Friendly amendment to the original motion to approve, which I made, so I would accept. And then, as has been my tradition historically on this, is that because I am on the reimbursement list, I am going to abstain from the vote, which interestingly means that we'll, assuming that the council members can accept that amendment, it'll pass 2-0-1. But
So we need a second for the,
no, I accepted the just revote on the amendment.
and you wanted to change that to, what was the dollar figure, 250 what?
253.79.
Oh, solved.
There's Levi. Now, shoot, we had a real opportunity there.
now we gotta go home.
Levi's here, 719.
I'm sorry, Donna. I made you aware of that fee, but I didn't actually come through with that, so I kind of set you up for that.
That is mine, thank you.
Okay.
So we are going to,
You'd be voting on the voting on the claims as amended.
What did we adjust? So.
thank you.
We
Yes.
adjusted so that Stephen doesn't have an invoice presented for this yet.
Oh, okay.
So we're amending that number.
Okay, we've had a motion on the floor and a second to approve it, and we've now had amendment that we are going to reduce the reimbursement to Stephen Hardy from 288.79 to 253.79. That produces the receipt for another receipt.
Mhm.
All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Abstention.
Okay? And opposed, the same?
301.
So, motion passes 301. Thank you, council. So, the next thing on our agenda tonight is I'm asking the council to consider a new ordinance that I think something we need to control semi-truck parking within our city streets. I have researched those pretty extensively and found nothing in our ordinances to control semi-truck parking for several reasons. Number one, weight limits on our roads, length limits of a parked vehicle, and the time these vehicles can be parked in any one spot. Probably one of the most important is that we're parking vehicles that could weigh up to 105,000 pounds on some of our streets that are far less than adequate of supporting that weight.
Mr. Mayor, may I interject just one? When
Sure,
you said-
absolutely.
When you said streets, for clarification, you're referring to residential as well, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make that clear for the record.
Not so much our main street,
Right.
although there is no ordinance or resolution relating to where any of those trucks can be parked.
Because that's inclusive, that'd be a residential, all the streets?
Yes.
Okay, just for record.
And that
Thank
would
you
be
for-
my biggest concern.
Okay.
Actually, we have a couple vehicles, one of them parked on Fourth and Douglas. And it was brought to my attention that we need to make that known. Well, I think that's a great thing, but there's actually nothing to be made known because we don't have any ordinance or resolution. So at this point, I would suggest that the council think about having a committee, which I'd like to know if anybody would like to sign up for that committee.
How
Is-
big a committee are you looking for?
I would think we should have at least two of you and possibly three. And we're looking at the present moment, we don't know the results of all of
Elections?
our elections, so we could be looking at new people. So this may not be the night that we're talking about, looking for that group, but it is something that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to the gentleman who is actually driving one truck in question. And you and I talked about that this weekend, David, and I'm going to see if I can't help him find or secure another place to park his truck other than the current one at which he's parking it at right now.
Right.
And I haven't seen it the last 2 days, actually, but
Well, that's a question I have for Mr. Mayor, is, I don't know the frequency that this is happening. You may have already said that. I don't know if it's a once a week, once a month, or is it a blue moon type thing, or?
it used
Is
to
it-
be virtually every night here, I'm gonna say for
All
a
summer?
month or more.
Okay.
Last fall, possibly last summer, at which time he was parking a loaded truck there. And right now, it's an empty truck. It hasn't been there last night or tonight that I've seen as of yet. But so I'm going to speak to him personally because I think we want to. I personally think we want to not park semi-trucks in R1 zoned areas.
To add to that, do we want to add anything else? I know we have motorhomes and all that. We already have ordinances that address that, and for permits and so forth. But any other heavy vehicles? Address any heavy vehicles, or just, are we targeting tractor trailers?
Well,
What's your opinion?
I would think, I can't think of that many vehicles that park on our streets that would probably weigh anywhere near those kind of weights,
Okay.
unless you had multiple axles.
Well, I was,
I can interject something. It is a 11-year-old document, but I did some research, and City of Spokane Valley actually did, for lack of a better term, a research project on this, and it was primarily about their issue. And then they outlined what the different municipalities throughout the state do. And it is interesting, there are criteria not only based on how many inches wide, how long, how many pounds, the class of vehicle from RVs to utility vehicles to commercial vehicles. So the one thing that I did specifically key in on is they reference a number of specific, well, not a number of, but they reference an RCW and a WAC. And the conclusion is that as a municipality, they do have the authority to
restrict.
Limit at
Yes,
parking areas.
yes.
My first concern is the gentleman, the citizen who's parking this truck in an area that is of concern to several people here, is trying to make a living. So we need to be cognizant of this is how he's trying to maintain and pay his water, sewer, garbage bill, and everything else. So we need to be cognizant of that and try to help him find a place, if at all possible. That may not be our specific job, but I think that's something that we should do, is try to be considerate to the
Agreed.
people who live here. And
So aside, I had heard rumor, but I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard that besides Third, which is a state highway,
Yep.
is built for that level of weight.
okay,
But is there another side street in town that is also built to that spec?
I can't answer you that question.
Well,
No.
I am willing to be on said committee until I can't.
Okay,
Well, if you're waiting for others to come on board, it'd probably be after the first of the year, but you would be involved anyway.
Right.
I'll throw in my 2 cents, or my hat.
so we got David and Joe at the present moment who are interested in being on a committee to research heavy vehicle parking. oversized vehicle parking. Not sure what we wanna call that, not specifically.
Heavy
call it-
vehicles.
Yeah.
Heavy vehicles. And I don't know if just like the motor, we have multiple, in the ordinances, there, it comes up quite regularly, the motor homes and, you know, recreational vehicles and trailers.
Yep.
And it's always referring to that. I don't know why I don't remember it being a big problem in this town, but you get permits and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know if you just have the guys, that's not our goal. Just giving a permit to park there is not gonna solve, I guess, what your concerns are, or street, infrastructure and breaking down streets. So we can't just come up with a solution just to give them a parking pass. We gotta find a solution to get them, a commercial parking lot, basically.
I don't know that that's the city's responsibility
Right.
to do that, but as you and I talked this weekend, we know one gentleman there who has the ability or has room, and I'm going to talk to him
Okay.
possibly tomorrow to see if he would make it available for this particular individual to park his truck, so that wouldn't be next door or in front of his house, but it could be parked very close to town here.
Okay.
I think that would be an acceptable situation, not only for the town, but for our streets. Our streets, some of them, we all know the sewers are only 3 feet deep, so are the water pipes, and you start driving over them with trucks of that weight.
I do know that particular spot you're talking about, and I witnessed it there. That line, if that house that it was parked in front of, if they don't keep their water running, it freezes out there in the street. It is fairly shallow, that line. So, your concerns are valid on that.
That's the one going up Fifth.
Yeah, Fifth and
Yeah.
Douglas.
Yep.
Yep.
That's about 3 feet deep there.
If that.
Yeah.
When it was frozen.
Sewer line also,
Yeah.
so. Okay, we can move on from that. Next thing on the agenda was a city fence height ordinance. Here again, this is something that I have been asked many times, the clerks have been asked, people come in and wanna put a fence around their house. And it was told to me, oh yeah, it's in our ordinances. I've exhausted it, I know I had Joe do a study for it. I can find nowhere in any of our paperwork where it specifically says what a fence height should be in the front, along the sides, or the back of your lot,
The placement thereof and the height.
and the height.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
So, although I think it's been unspoken law for the past 30 years, one individual has gone and proved them, and according to him, those fence heights were documented and in a specific place, but I can't find any ordinance or any documentation. So I think that's also something we need to definitely look into. There are several people at the present time that are planning on putting up fences in the spring. And it would probably behoove us to come up with some sort of a
Regular.
reasonable regulation and number so that they could proceed and with their property as they'd wish. Anybody have any discussion or?
Well, I might add that maybe we could call a few other neighboring city towns around here and see if they have anything on the books and works for them, and maybe plagiarize it, copy it, or tailor it.
Yeah, I did look at, again, Spokane Valleys, and I think Liberty Lake has one that's out there. I know that, and I may be alone on this, I guess for me, in concerns for the city and the citizens of, I would rather not be in a position where we're dictating necessarily how high. I would rather dictate that they're made of sound material and structurally intact, where they're not going to create a hazard for somebody else. Probably the only thing that I would be questioning is the use of barbed wire or razor wire.
The material.
Yeah,
itself.
the material itself. Well, I mean, if they're
I would
asking-
hope that doesn't come into question.
But,
We're not there yet, right?
and the only reason I thought of it, because I hadn't, was there are some of these fence ordinances that talk about where and how high barbed wire can go on top of a fence primarily. So I thought, wow, that'd be interesting to have somebody put razor wire for their fence
Co-
line between their neighbors and
Concertina
themselves.
wire?
Yeah.
Well, that's a rough
They'd send a
neighborhood.
message, yeah.
Well, yeah, the only reason why I suggested other cities, I know, I have a pretty good idea that Odessa's pretty up on stuff like this, the town of Odessa. And that community, if there's gonna be something there, I would kind of maybe give them a shout out first, if they even have it. And I want to echo Councilman Armand's statement, it shouldn't, prevent people from doing something, because a fence done right, it does add value and aesthetic looks to a property too. And in some, it really helps if there's something on the other side, we don't. So, I'm sure we could come up something for you, Mr. Mayor.
Good fences make good
Yeah.
neighbors.
Yeah.
You know, another thing to consider is when you have a house that's in the corner, it's visibility.
That's what we,
Yeah, that was brought up.
I guess that's probably the biggest hurdle we're gonna have, is trying to come up with how far back with the traffic codes and visibilities for line of sight.
We do have that, actually.
There is a setback ordinance for that already.
Yeah.
For fences?
But not for a
fence.
fence, though.
Yeah, there was, because.
For a
when
yard,
When they were building the, fence up,
school.
no.
The
I wanna say
white
it's
fence?
2 blocks down south from the cemetery.
Got it, I know the one.
The one
Oh,
where
Yeah,
moved
they
the fence.
built their fence originally and
That
they
was-
had to actually move it back away from the street.
But I think that was a right-of-way issue.
I don't recall. I just
That's what I
remember the
was told.
situation when they were discussing it and the view from the street came up in that meeting.
I know that,
It probably isn't in the ordinance, but.
It's in our zoning ordinance.
Is it in the zoning
Yeah,
ordinance?
It's,
Okay.
But
it's
that-
buried
that-
in our zoning
I
ordinance.
believe that, I was told from kind of the horse's mouth on that. It was on city property, on the right-of-way. It was a right-of-way issue.
That's very possible.
Yeah. Well, it was out there, and it looked nice, but it was just on somebody else's property.
Okay,
It would be
We're-
nice for the clerks to have a definitive answer to Alice to give when that question is raised.
I mean, at some point, somebody's going to just build what they want. It's
Well,
that simple.
The citizens, to remind them, they do have the ability to come in, since we don't have a planning commission anymore, or I don't know if we ever did we, Levi? A planning commission, but
I think there was one, according to some of the
they can,
paperwork.
they can come in and present to the council anything that they have in mind or question on too. And it's encouraged, I encourage it for them to come to a solution or something.
Okay. If we move to the next spot on the agenda, that is additions to the agenda. And I have one of those I'm going to add right now, and that is to pick a date for the public hearing for the approval of our tax levy. Let me grab a calendar.
Which is due by November 30th.
Is
We
it?
look at the last week of the month. We have to have it in by the 30th. The reason that I'm asking that we need a specific date is we have to have a date in for a public hearing, and there's nothing in there that says we have to have anything more than 7 days out. Today being the 8th. But if we look at the calendar, we got Thanksgiving coming up, which is probably not a good week to try and squeeze a meeting in. Our meeting for our special meeting would be, if it's anything like the last public hearing, it was open and closed within, I think, 2 minutes. So it was open and nobody was concerned, and we closed it, and then we, as a council, as the city council, we voted on it and then went home. So I think this meeting should be a quick one. But I'm gonna throw it out there to you guys, rather than we just call a meeting date, that we look at the calendar. So, has anybody got a time on there? It looks like Thursday is the day, Thursday the 30th of November, it needs to be to the auditor's office.
It could be any day of the week except the weekend, right?
It needs to be hand delivered, and I was at the office yesterday, and she said if I brought it in on Thursday, that would be just fine with her.
Okay.
So as long as it was any day,
Do we have to
But our-
advertise this in the,
yes, we have to
Okay.
put it in the paper for at least 7 days, so
Okay.
we've got time right now. But I need to have a specific date.
With the exception of, Thanksgiving
Giving week.
Thursday and Friday.
Yeah?
Thanksgiving week, I can do any day, Monday to Wednesday.
Of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna be not able to do that.
Okay, I'm just saying whenever, aside from those
When does it work for you,
days
Mr.
right
Mayor?
there, it's fine.
Well, the last week would be great, 27th, 28th, or 29th.
Let's
That's
make it the-
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
I'm good with the 27th. That'll give you some cushion to make sure that,
You good?
Either that or we could just move, I mean, we would normally have our second meeting of the month on the 22nd. So,
Which is the day before Thanksgiving.
right, so we can just move that to the 29th and do it there.
Move the next meeting.
Have our
to
city
29th?
council, have a city council meeting, okay?
On the
On the
29th.
29th.
That's good. When we have that, there's some other things. Having one meeting a month is causing some issues with getting our bills in time and paying them in time. Because we don't always have, all of our statements are not always in by the second Wednesday. And then we have to wind up waiting for a full month if we don't have a second meeting. So we're gonna have to attack that issue.
Well, it's the end of the year, so
I
we
don't
need
have,
to budget stuff. We
Yeah.
need to be tying up the budget ends anyways, so.
I'm
we're
good with two.
We're going to call that meeting on Monday, the 27th.
Was it 29th? What'd you
What-
say?
Or
I can do that.
Or
I
did
had
you want
proposed
to-
the 29th.
29th,
Wednesday the
okay.
29th.
That's
if we do
fine.
it on the 29th though, you're gonna be able to get everything there and,
Yep.
okay,
All we have to do is vote on it, and I'll have
And
to
it's all
hand
ready
carry
to
it to
go.
Davenport.
okay.
Yep. Okay, that's fine. We are
November,
gonna move our city council meeting from Wednesday, the 22nd to Wednesday, the 29th. That answers that question.
that was simple.
Additions to the agenda is still open.
I have one quick, and it's a yes or no question. Is City Hall closed on Friday in remembrance of Veterans Day?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
This is Friday, right?
This Friday, it's coming Friday.
Every Friday, David.
Since
Why can't
holidays
it,
don't mean much to me, I was
I guess it's
approached
the
with that
8th, so
question
the
first
11th,
thing
yes.
Monday morning. By people who it is important to.
Exactly.
I have one as well.
Okay?
I was approached today by a citizen who's concerned about the reliability of the streetlights on Adams, and because like 3 of them are out.
Totally out, Stephen? They're not
more or
disco
less.
lights?
Like the one that's right across from my house, I see on once in 20 days.
Are they,
It does turn on, but rarely.
is that in a Vista field? or-
Well, and that was my that was my statement to him, is that I know at least at one point in time, Avista owned those lights. I seem to remember there was some discussion, but I don't know if it actually came to pass that we were talking about them transferring ownership to us. I don't know if that actually happened, but regardless of whether we own them or whether Avista owns them, citizens would like those lights working again. So either that's a request for us to fix them, or it's a request for us to bug Avista to fix them.
And I'd like to expound on that. If it's on the pole itself, if there's a tag, a number on them, it might be labeled, there's some older ones, but newer ones, but it's a Vista. You can take that number and call a Vista and tell them, report that pole. So they'll,
These are utility poles or are poles like ours?
No, they're like,
Light
yeah,
poles.
as far as I know, the only places you'll find these type of poles in town
Is
are
here.
here and up on Adams.
And it's those poles, it's our poles we put up?
Well, No, there, at least at one point in time, Avista owned that street, from what I remember hearing.
including the light poles.
Yeah.
So, Steve, what you're saying, they look like these?
Yep, they
Yeah.
look like these,
Yeah.
but they're, at least at one point in time, I believe I heard they were Avista. I can talk to Dylan or Justin, because I think they might know. But to David's point, there might be something on them that helps identify whose they are, but.
Okay?
Huh.
I think it was something about there was a grant available from either a state or a federal level or something like that to be able to do lights on city streets, and that they took an opportunity at the same time that we put in the ones downtown to put them up on that street, I think, when they redid that street east of the intersection.
Are they these types of LED type?
I don't think they've been converted.
East of what intersection?
Well, the one that I'm on, because we did west of the intersection to the tracks,
Okay,
but years ago, they did east of that intersection to.
all the way to Coal Creek?
And I think that's when they put in those streetlights.
Okay.
Peter, do you remember anything about that since you were on council at that time?
I remember the issue, but I don't remember the outcome of it.
Do you remember hearing something about Avista owning those poles?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, at least I'm not totally off base. I don't think I ever really heard the outcome of exactly what it was, but it's probably good for us to know in
Yeah.
general who owns those poles.
Yeah, well, if they're out like that, like I said, I wasn't aware that they were like this, so that's a very good question.
The rest of the time, when you find Avista-owned stuff, it's the ones that come off of the pole, and it's the more utilitarian looking.
Cobra lights?
Yeah,
And they're on the intersections.
Right.
yeah.
Not all, but
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. So I think we've got nothing else on the additions to agenda. Did anybody here or have anything they would like to discuss about the garbage issues? I heard nothing this week from Sunshine. So as of our last meeting, they were going to adjust their rates so that they would all be either equal to a cubic foot or a pound, that they, every can would be priced by the same measure.
Right.
I haven't heard a word from them yet, so I'm assuming we're gonna continue that on the 29th.
And I would maybe we want to think about advising them that we want to make sure to get this done
Yeah,
at the New Year transition, not only for budget reasons, but because I believe that's the end of our current contract, right? So I guess it doesn't matter if it gets done in the last meeting in December, but it cannot go into January.
so we're waiting on some figures, and are they gonna quote all the tote sizes and the dumpsters that we currently have in use, correct?
yeah, all of the ones that we have in use now, they will convert them to the same measure. So that could change some of the pricing that they gave us
Okay.
on the last meeting.
Okay, then Mr. Mayor, I'll reserve this info until we get those, because just to fill everybody in, I had the opportunity to sit down with Steve Gromo in Davenport, the manager,
Okay.
and the mayor, or not, the clerk, David Leach,
Okay,
and he has supplied me with a lot of, and we talked for some time about liens and how they do it, and just a vast amount of information here. And I have a sheet with all their, a resolution with all their city fee schedule. And on that, I was, it's pretty close to what, we've worked at, but there's some nuances with this Sunshine. They have the same garbage service, Sunshine.
correct.
But there's something that I haven't heard Mr. Dion explain,
Okay.
but we did, a year ago when we looked at that other outfit, get a quote out of them, they had mentioned, for example, that to haul garbage out of the county, the county transfer station charges an amount for that. And so I was unaware of this, but their garbage goes up to Sunshine. They haul out of Davenport, goes up to out in the,
Courtway Heights?
No, in the valley, industrial area.
Okay.
I was unaware of that, maybe somebody
So
else
are
knows.
they in Lincoln County?
No, they're Spokane.
Davenport
Well, Davenport is,
is in the county.
in the county.
That was one of our problems here, is you couldn't haul stuff out of Lincoln County except to
But
this
you,
transfer station.
but you can, but you have to pay,
For penalty.
okay, okay, yes, I guess I'll just leave it at that. You pay a fee,
An additional fee?
yes, but, however, they negotiated something, and I don't, I mean, they would love to hear from anybody, they'll answer your questions. And it's kind of confusing to me, but the customers get charged something, and then Sunshine absorbs something, and they get money back. So it's kind of going through this stuff. We'll get into that later. I prefer not to tie up a meeting going into all the
So-
dynamics of that, but
Are you saying that Davenport, I'm guessing then, it's cheaper for them to hit that fee with Lincoln County Waste Transfer and haul it to Spokane than to,
that's the fee, $2,427 they charge the city to haul it off-site.
so
So that's,
basically as long as, well, and
You can check those out.
I'm guessing that fee is proportional, so
and
as long
what
as
is
you
the
save.
tipping fee then, that
They-
they're paying when they get there?
There's no tipping, you pay on tonnage, so that could change. So wherever, that's just based off of same tipping fees, okay?
Which is what we pay.
Right. But I don't know what that rate is, and we'd have to do more research on that, but I do have some more good information here on amounts billed and, all that stuff. If we could sit down, probably at a workshop and look at this. Like I said, I don't want to bore the audience to death or anybody else, but there's quite a bit of information. I think that would be very useful for us. And especially negotiating the new contract with Sunshine, which I think, when does ours expire right now?
End of the year.
Okay, so probably now is the time to really hash this over. I don't know if any citizens have come in and concerned about this. I've heard a lot of misconception, like we're not gonna provide service for anybody. That is not the case. We've always, forget about that. You're gonna be able to dump, the garbage is gonna be able to be dumped. So it's just a matter of the fees and how much it's gonna cost the residents. And I'm a resident as well as all of us, and so we're gonna work our best, in the best interest of everybody on this.
So our tipping fees last month were $2,201.44. We also pay Sunshine for the service, so we pay them to come and pick up our garbage, but the tipping fees alone to dump that garbage were $2,201.
Mm-hmm. And that's a variable rate
And
or figure.
that changes by
Right.
however much garbage we have.
Right, the tonnage, yeah.
And that does not include our green waste dumpster, which we take care of, which is separate from our garbage. And our cardboard recycling and our recycling of the plastic and other portions.
So it looks like from this that Davenport pays around $3,000 per quarter
It's a quarter.
in penalties to haul their garbage out. So
So 12,000 a year.
I'm guessing, yeah, so in theory, hauling to Spokane Valley for the garbage is $12,000 a year, at least $12,000 a year cheaper to make that pay.
And I think they had 800, I believe it's 800 plus accounts, and we were at 215. So that number for us would be considerably
It'd
We
be-
lower.
got like
Yeah.
we were 249, but we've got several new residents, but somewhere in there.
Okay.
We'll just say 250 for round it off.
So that's something to look at.
Yeah,
So, his name, Leith, I didn't mean to call him Leith, sorry. I apologize to anybody, it's Leith, David Leith. And, that's the clerk over there, clerk treasurer. Nice folks, but he gave me his utility bill for the month. Go-
Okay.
I think you have a question, Mr. Mayor.
So I just want to make sure that I understand this, because you said you have a conception. So are the residents, the conception is that you are stocking garbage service on our utility bill, and we would be responsible to get our own garbage service, because the city was having to pay for garbage for those people who are in arrears of their utility bill. That is what was confusing.
okay, that's not exactly true. We would like to, as a city, get out of providing garbage services. We'll still be through the same company. But why? Well, there's a lot of services that are going on behind the scenes that city employees are doing. Hauling garbage cans to people, picking things up here and there, we're doing things, plus all the billing that's actually being done here. So,
At the core of it, the city has been subsidizing garbage rates to the city, to the citizens, to the tune of about $20,000 per year.
And then
The citizens have been getting a subsidized rate for garbage to the tune of about $20,000 per year. That's how it's been historically, and the city council is looking to change that.
Well, I guess to be clear, the figures, the city gets two bills. We get billed from Sunshine. They charge so much for receptacles, agreed and contractual obligations. I'll pick this tote up for $10, a month, whatever, and so forth and so on. They come in, drive around, pick it up, write down, here's who I picked up, give the bill to the clerk here, and then they haul it over to the transfer station. It's weighed, and that's what they call the tipping fees, whatever that tonnage is and whatever their price is, and we get a bill from them. Well, those two together add up to more than what we collect from the citizens.
are you not collecting it from the citizens because they're in arrears of the utility bill?
There's probably
Or
a
is it because you're just not, the bill is just not enough?
it's not sorry, yeah, both. There's probably about a third or less that are delinquent, maybe, let's say. And that's like this. It's all over the board. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And every town, city around here has the same problem. To what degree is subjectable. But the tipping fees, that changes on the amount of weight. Like if somebody just puts a bag of feathers in there, obviously it's going to be, the tipping fees are going to be hardly nothing. But if somebody takes their fireplace apart and loads the thing up with a ton of bricks, well, that's another issue. You touched on something I forgot. I apologize, but
The bottom line is, if everyone, let's assume for a second that everyone was current and there was no outstanding bills out there, we're not charging them
yes, that's the point.
to the tune of probably $18,000 to $20,000 a year. We're just not charging them for this. So the idea is, and excuse me for saying it this way, but technically we're not out of the garbage business. You want us to stay in the garbage business, because if we're not, the Washington State ETC takes over, and they charge whatever they want, and they're not here, they don't care. So, that being said,
They set the rate,
they
period.
set the rate. So, with us being involved, what we're saying is we're taking ourselves out of, really at the end of the day, the billing. We're transferring the billing obligations and everything along those lines to Sunshine. We are making sure the city is setting the rate. We're working with them, they can't lose money, but we're setting the rate. We're making sure that the citizens are being served. Nobody's gonna have their service cut by us. It's really, it's an administrative task that we're transferring to them.
Correct.
And they're doing it for a fair amount cheaper than we would have charged by our own math.
And that's part of trying to get it the cheapest. And I know I remember what I was gonna finish saying, is that the county transfer station has raised their rates, cost of living here in the last couple of years, I think several times,
Gas.
but, and all that, and then Sunshine has whacked us a couple times, and then we're gonna get another one.
6%.
Well, actually, it's almost 10.
9.7 something this
Yeah.
year, it's gonna go up.
So at the first, I believe in January.
And Harrington hasn't raised its garbage rates in nearly a decade.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's, I'd be screaming too, like, what is going on here? But that's, if you look around the different town, and I, like Odessa, I
This
know.
would be the first city that I would never really find garbage, but I think Garbageville is always been, always been, and so some of Texas, but not always been.
Combined billing, is what you're talking about, yeah. Most of them are.
The thing with me was, the only thing that I was going to object to was the fact that I don't want to be responsible for those people. I don't want to be paying my bill, which I do timely every single month, and be penalized by not having my garbage bill on there because of somebody who's not paying the bill, and they're getting free water. If you're not gonna shut off the water and stop the garbage service,
Right.
then
Don't blame
I
you.
should have to pay my garbage bill.
Well,
Right.
this is
But I
the-
pay my bill.
And-
And so I just wanted to make sure that was not.
And by transferring the billing directly from Sunshine to the citizen, it is on an individual level. You don't pay, Sunshine will stop your service. It'll,
Then what happens? What is that going to
That's the next problem. and we
ordinance
don't wanna see
enforcement
happen.
is a separate discussion that we have
We all,
issues
in
with.
it.
but-
I believe that ordinance was in 1987, that you will have garbage service.
Yeah.
So it's not an option in town whether you have garbage.
But if they,
Yeah, but if they're not gonna pay the bill, sometimes.
right, so, and like I said,
I don't garbage
We-
on the street.
Which goes back to ordinance enforcement.
this is a work in progress, and I encourage, please, folks, to come down and help us make, put input into it, because it's important.
Yeah, well,
But-
ordinance enforcement,
But-
a lot of that happens.
That's
Well-
true,
So
but
don't
the
take on
the
small one instead of getting rid of the big one.
the
Like
alternative
quarter, put 'em into here.
the alternative of not having someone not stop garbage service when they don't pay is to put the bill upon the people who are paying. There's no two ways to,
Stop their water.
we can't do that.
Legally, we
Then
checked
why
into
am I
it.
paying my bill? If you can't turn off my water, why am I paying?
It's not us that sets those rules, it's the state that says
Okay,
that we
so
can't turn that
If they
off.
don't have to pay their bill, why should I have to pay it? And you're still gonna keep my water. That makes no sense.
The number of things, when we reduce the number of things that the city bills for, we reduce the number of things that we have limitations from the state that we can and can't turn off.
Okay, so
I
don't
know you're
think
dying to
that's
say
basically
so.
what you just said.
If that's the way you wish to operate, we will deal with that
Well, it's
accordingly.
not, but that's what you're saying. so that's
No,
really
no,
not fair
I'm,
to the
no,
citizen.
listen. I don't set the way the state works. I'm saying this is what we legally can and cannot do. So to reflect upon the city council's desire is inappropriate.
I've got a question. You said you have 250 roughly
Approximately 250 cars.
customers
Yes,
and 18,000 in the whole,
more than that, last year.
250 under 20,000, what is that? How much is that?
I don't have my calculator
It's a lot of
here.
money.
Yes, it is.
See that? It's just, I don't know how you ridiculous. It's begging the,
You're
it's begging the
absolutely correct.
question. That's begging the question.
$80.
Something needs to go up to live in this town.
Eight-
Taxes, something's gotta cover this stuff. We can't, we don't even have a marshal, and we have nobody to enforce this stuff. And it's all begs the question, how long are you gonna put off raising rates?
Well, you open up
raising everything?
a can of worms with that one. We've worked really hard on our nuisance ordinance and stuff, and got it codified. We're in sectors, and some of you may know what that is, but it's the ability for law enforcement to call up, and it's in the system with Olympia, and you can go back to the court systems and run it through that way. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, that we're getting a little bit of cold feet or I don't know about pushback with the court system, what they will enforce and what they can enforce. So I don't want to really say this on open mic, but it's the truth. It boils down to human morals and decency, because you can't legislate morality and decency. I mean, you could do it till you're blue in the try, but if people are going to live like hogs or scofflaws, I mean, what do you do with that person? And that's the problem with this. If everybody would just behave and be decent, the world and the town, it'd be a lot better place to live. And that's my philosophy, is treat others as you wish to be treated, and go from there, you know? But one thing adding to this, and this is my own personal belief, and I've heard it resonated throughout different towns and people, is this thing with the governor's mandates and stuff over the COVID thing. It gave a green light to a lot of people. Well, we don't have to pay now because it's free. But it didn't read the fine print on that mandate. It said at this particular time, and when it was over with, they were supposed to come in and make a repayment plan to pay that. It wasn't just free. So that. But that's what we're fighting too. And other, well, I know Davenport and stuff, that did impact the towns and cities somewhat. So whether that helped or not, go ahead. I mean,
Peter Davenport.
If this proposed garbage collection plan is put into place, how will the billing and payment be administered? Will people hand checks to truck drivers?
No, you will mail it to Sunshine,
Well, if it's mailed
or
out to
they
them.
may take your credit card, or, I don't know how they'll deal with it. They,
The city
Shredder.
will not be involved in that
that's
process.
correct.
Correct. The one thing they did say is they will bill quarterly. They will bill quarterly, but they will have the billing options that we don't have right now, which, pay by mail, pay online, all those
IOU.
current, yeah, sure, why not? But anyway, that, they will be handling the billing, they've got a whole billing department, and that's how that would be done.
And another question that I made earlier, is it known what will happen to the billing rate if the system is put into place? Have you published a,
You were here the last meeting, and the difference that we had in opinion here with the garbage company is they did not charge the same weight or volume per can. So in other words, we would like them to say if it's $1 a gallon, whether you have a 30-gallon can, it's $30. If you have a 96-gallon can, it's $96. Don't hold me, those are not the prices. I'm just trying to give you a picture. If you have a dumpster that's 136 cubic feet, it's $136, or whatever that factor is. But that every receptacle would cost the same. So it's your choice whether you want to have a big can and pay $30, or a little can and pay $5. That's up to the citizen to do.
will it be billed by weight or by the volume of the can?
By the volume of the can. But don't think you're gonna fill it full of bricks, because they won't pick it up. That's true as of right now. There are times where people have taken their dumpsters and filled every single square inch full of sheetrock. That's not what that garbage is. Every dumpster that we have in town and every garbage can is meant for household garbage. Not for dirt, not for rocks, not for sheetrock, not for
Okay.
2x4s and construction equipment. It's meant for bagged household garbage.
Yeah, but that is for the person, her and I and him. But it's not for the contractor that is out there dumping, tearing down a house
That's
and
a-
taking all of the
That's correct.
sheetrock and putting it down there.
That's a no-no.
Well,
So,
No, I'm talking about down there.
She has a-
I've got that.
down
Yeah,
where?
the one that's down here that
The
we
greenways?
have used that go down, that we could put our leaves in,
Yeah.
stuff and stuff like that. I've gone down there before, and somebody has gone in there and torn down sheetrock
Have they?
and filled the thing full.
So our guys are down there, our public works people, almost every day unpacking that. And I can't say we've seen a lot of that, I'm not disagreeing
Well,
with you.
I'm not saying that it happens
But-
every time, but I have gone down there to put something in there, and it's filled with sheetrock, boards and stuff that somebody has torn down out of a house and taken down there and dumped, rather than taking it by themselves over to the dumpster where they would have to pay, but they go down there because nobody's around to monitor it, and I'm not saying that that's what should happen, but, you know, if you can get by with it,
That's,
some person will get by with it.
well, if we catch you doing that, we're gonna let you know about that.
The only
Cause
other
I'm
thing
one
I
of the
have-
people that pays for it too.
I will say that I love the green dumpster and I like the recycling, and I truly do appreciate you guys having that here. I do think though that we're too petty services that we, well, and then they charge the citizens for that waste, and they put it down there in our.
That.
Oh.
There's no way for you guys to
We
control
actually
that, and I
put
know
several trees in there this week, and the young man sitting in front of
Young man,
it
appreciate
will
it.
tell you where those trees came from.
That's right.
They came out of
We use that-
backyard.
We use
Wow,
that
not
all
quite
the
my
time,
backyard.
and we do appreciate you guys having that here for us.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's going to go away probably, possibly the end of the month
It's
Oh, yeah,
seasonal.
for the winter.
for the winter.
Yeah.
We'll bring
Yeah.
it back because
Yeah.
this is the first week it hasn't filled up, other than what we took out of the back.
That was a runoff ditch, and it's not mine.
And that's only because the leaves are too
that
wet to pick up.
Tree still back there, or did they
We
get
were
cut
glad to
down?
do it too.
They got it out. I
They
was gonna-
did.
Before I get to what I want to talk about, I want to thank you.
Okay.
Actually,
I'd
get
like
to
the
it right away.
cemetery to come over and pick up my leaves, because all the leaves.
It's
in
the
my
one right
yard,
on the
I
edge
don't
of the
have
ditch.
seven trees.
But-
Well, this is
Yeah.
in the center of the ditch right
Oh, it's
there.
in the center.
We have
How
the
big did that thing?
We have the cemetery leaves in our yard.
Peter, do you have another statement?
Pertaining to garbage.
Go ahead.
Since we're changing the laws, would the council contemplate not requiring the citizen to contract for garbage collection at all? Citizen could take it.
It's likely we would not find anyone to service us if we did that. They want complete contracts so that they can have guarantees that they will have at least a number, X amount of service. They've already made it clear to us that their rates that they're offering now are dependent upon that agreement being in place. So for us to rescind it is not a guarantee, but it is likely to make our bargaining power far less, if not our situation untenable. The other thing I want to answer, though, in regards to your previous question, Peter, in case you were getting at price, one thing that I've always tried to make clear with it, before we looked at making this change for Sunshine taking on the billing, the council was looking at adjusting our rates to reduce the 20 grand deficit. The amount that we were going to have to jump rates to reduce that 20 grand deficit was a fair amount. Sunshine came in a bit under that. So, Sunshine is going to be doing this for less than the city could with no deficit, but it's still going to be a significant jump. I don't want anyone walking away with the impression that Sunshine is going to be doing this for less than you're paying now. No one can do it for less than you're paying now. But this is a rate that's better than if the city stayed in the middle of it, exactly as we are now. Our spreadsheet has basically taken the Lincoln County waste transfer fee and redistributed those numbers to each container, and that's how we came up with our numbers, and somehow they're doing it for less. I don't know how. I'm not asking how because I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, but somehow they are doing it for less than we could. So just to be clear on prices, even though it's going to be a number that will make some eyebrows raise, it's still the best deal that we've yet been able to figure out.
Why are we having to pay the transfer? So we're paying the Lincoln County Transfer Station outside of Davenport money just to weigh the truck because they will not accept our garbage.
They do. Every
When
week.
did they start? Because we were told that our garbage was going not to Davenport because we had some sort of.
Green waste. You're talking about green waste.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take green waste to the Davenport.
Apple maggot.
Because
orange.
that's
Yeah,
outside
apple
of
maggot,
Lincoln
yeah.
County.
Pardon me?
That's outside of Lincoln County, the transfer station.
No.
No,
It's
no.
outside the
It's
quarantine area.
outside the quarantine.
Yes.
The signs are everywhere, and apparently apple maggots could read signs.
Yeah.
And not to cross here,
Yeah.
across there.
So yes, that's only green waste, not the garbage.
So our garbage is going to Davenport.
Yeah.
Yes.
right now.
I would say.
And I would venture to say, maybe
been for
speaking
many
of,
years.
Now, it was my understanding from Sunshine that
but
they
the
had to
cheapness
bring
is that
it
they're probably
within the
gonna
county,
haul it up there.
that they were not allowed to take the garbage from
I
our,
think that's part of their
our-
licensure with the county.
Mm.
That's true.
outside of
They-
the
that
county.
they-
Well, I got some information from the Davenport officials over there, and it's a kind of a lengthy explanation. We didn't get into it, but everybody thought that was a great idea, building the transfer station. And then we didn't get into it to the point that a state and whatever regulations that they were going to start charging them. So they're just kind of basically passing those charges off to people. They're not going to eat all of it, you know, that's the way they operate, but there's more to it than meets the eye. And
You're saying somebody's subsidizing that station?
very well could be. There's something more to it, and I don't want to speak out of tune or turn because I don't have all the facts on that, but I know there's more to it than meets the eye on that. And from the inception of that went in, everybody thought, yeah, great, recycling it was a, you know, better than sliced bread over there, but they found out different. So I do know that there's other towns like Odessa, I believe, has a different company who we solicited for bids. And frankly, Sunshine is the only game in town because I believe these guys were out of Wenatchee, Quincy or Moses
Quincy,
Lake
I
area.
think.
Yeah, and for them to do it, it would have been almost double
Yeah.
what you're paying now.
What do they have for Sunshine?
Empire.
Hasn't always been Empire?
Empire, then Adeline before that.
Which
Uh,
Adeline became Sunshine.
Adeline was Adams, Lincoln County, and they're based down in the southern district. And Empire, I believe, was based out of Colfax area,
It
I
was
think.
Colfax.
Yes. And so Sunshine, the only one we haven't had is Waste Management. But in my opinion, the only true way to get a fair shake for everybody, they have the apparatuses out there, but they're costly. But until the day that they weigh each customer's garbage, what they produce, it's kind of a culmination of everybody. The person, we had a citizen in here that says, I only put a bag in there and I take all my recyclables. And so he puts a bag of feathers in there and it gets charged the same. Now, in the grand scheme of things, how fair is that? It's not. So you're kind of getting, until they can weigh each bag, or weigh your receptacle, which they have that technology, but they don't want to get it. Yeah, but I have other theories on this, but not on
They
open
said
mic.
they've owned those trucks before and they don't ever pay back is what
Yeah.
Paul said 4
Yes.
meetings ago, I think.
So, I mean, that's the true way if you wanted to be fair about stuff. We've tried, between Stephen and I and other, we tried making it price per gallon, so it's the same across the board. And that, I mean, we've looked at this every which way, you know, and it's not a simple, it seems like it might be a simple fix, but there's a lot that's gone into it.
So we're running this $20,000 So that money gets covered by raising the rates through Sunshine, right? And then, like you said,
It comes from our general fund.
So,
I'm just trying to make the point that money now becomes available for the city to spend on something else. And this
You
city
want that
needs, this town
That's
needs
correct.
this, a lot of stuff.
I mean, like good streets, yeah.
That's absolutely correct.
That's the
And
bottom line.
That's the driver for this whole thing.
And I said in our budget workshop that if the city is no longer spending 20 grand in subsidizing garbage, the city is responsible to do something productive with that $20,000.
Yeah, but we're talking
and-
government, right?
And I think that would include probably ordinance enforcement.
Yeah.
The 20 grand doesn't just get socked into a savings account and disappear. We have an obligation to do something with that savings.
The days of trying to save have become really a challenge with all the, well, I call them extortion fees, but that's my lingo. But, you know, everybody, you know, expenses of everything. So we have a heck of a sewer bill. And, I mean, the list goes on. I mean, I don't know where to even start and stop here.
so I will say this, and you guys don't see it, one of the savings that we will realize, and one of the reasons there's a difference is the city pays B&O
Well, if we're bringing in that much less dollars through our books, that's that much less business and occupation taxes. So that, I don't know, but I know it's a number.
And when the garbage doesn't get added,
Every B and O rate is different. depending on what-
County or jurisdiction?
No, so if it's an unincorporated area, they pay different than a city does in incorporated.
Depends on the business occupation. Because each one has a different rate.
Okay, so each part of the city's operation is really different. Okay.
I forgot I had a politician.
But why is a municipal, I guess that's a good question later, but why does a municipality have to pay any B and O?
Just take something from the salary.
Well, a truthful answer, but,
I got a similar answer from one of our commissioners. We run money through our books, ergo, we pay B&O tax.
Not saying it's right. It's like when you do improvements to your city, why do you have to pay sales tax on pipes and stuff?
yeah.
Water and stuff, you have to pay sales tax. Why should you be paying sales tax? It's the same.
So I will call Paul Dion and Steve Wolf
Get the figures.
tomorrow and give them a little shove and make sure that they're available to us on the 29th, seems to me.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong about that date, the Wednesday we're there.
Yeah.
So that we've got more information. Anybody that would like to come and question either one of those two individuals at the same time, please feel free. They were more than happy to come here several times. Both of them live out of the area, but they've been pretty good to us in that respect. And we did have, or do our best job at getting a couple of kids. We only found 2 people that would even talk to us. And one of them started the conversation, gave us a bid, and then decided they would have to buy more trucks. And said, well, we can't really even give you a bid. It's not worth it."
Right.
And the other one gave us a bid that was probably the
The taxes.
cost. of what we're doing.
It's over 25%.
we just consolidate that into 25%.
And we're not going to get out of
We're
there.
at 20.
We're still going to contract them. They're just going to do more of the
Interesting.
work, cheaper than we can do.
Our consumption is not that.
We are still going to have a contract with Sunshine Garden Disposal.
As a city.
As
but
a
I'm not
city.
gonna-
Yeah,
266.
But it's not gonna be on my zone, because I'm-
What was the deal with that?
That's
That was,
correct. But we still gonna
But it's-
contract,
I mean,
they're
it's a
gonna do the
contract
job.
that you have
that wasn't a
executed.
month.
Right now,
well,
we have a contract
we'll
that
talk
says
after.
we're gonna do this,
They
this,
can
and
hear us.
this, and they're gonna do this much. Well, now we're gonna have them do
Yeah,
more.
more, yeah.
Same company,
We'll bill each citizen quarterly.
that's what
they-
I
that's what they
understand,
tell
I'll
us.
get that information for you, Peter. So you wanna be here on the 29th? Yeah,
Please.
I'll see to it.
okay? If you need a ride, we'll holler, we'll make that happen for you.
I'll bring it.
Okay. Next thing on our agenda tonight is our clerk's report. Donna, you're up.
So clerk number 2, Cynthia has worked with great diligence for weeks to fulfill employee requests and to locate and organize a vast amount of information for the water plan. She has done all of this while continuing all of her usual responsibilities in the office. So I greatly appreciate her work ethic, the care and diligence that she puts into everything she does. She has done a lot of work. At the close of the business day on Wednesday, November the 1st, our 2 securities were successfully delivered to LPL Financial. That means our treasury bonds were finally removed from the grasp of U.S. Bank. So all 3 U.S. Bank accounts are now closed, and our business relationship with them has finally ended. Interest in our Wheatland money market account is at $906.30 for for the 4 months since our initial deposit. And that was made on July 21st. The new city hall has improved our efficiency and the atmosphere is great. Most of the citizens of Harrington have made positive comments about how pleasant the office looks. We are thankful for the additional monitors, the counter setup, and the lunch area. These things and more contribute to a great working environment, and we're thankful. Thank you.
Nicely
Thank you,
said.
Donna.
I have a question for that. Do we have an estimate for how many hours we spent on that FOIA request?
That's a good question.
It's in a week, so that's.
I'm
40
gonna
at least.
guess at least 40 hours. Wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
And maybe say for the public what that is, Freedom of Information.
That is, yes, that's the
Request.
Freedom of Information Act, that anybody can come in here anytime and request, make a FOIA request, because all of the things that go on in this office and in this hall are part of the Freedom of Information Act, and anybody can
Well,
ask.
almost all.
That's true. Certain things of employment and personal issues are not, but almost everything falls under the Freedom of Information Act. So there's not a lot of secrets in here. Some things I think should be a little more secret, but that's just personal opinion, you know?
I have a suggestion concerning this building, and I don't know, Don, if you've had a problem with it, I know that the girls in the bank used to complain about being cold in here in the winter. And have you thought at all about putting a double door, putting another door right there and that opening, so when you open the outside door, you've got that white space, and then you open the inside door, and you don't have a door. I'm trying to spend this.
Well, you should probably go and talk to the landlord.
Yeah, we don't own it, so.
We don't own this
This is
building.
right on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
One thing that they did do, they put in 10 inches of insulation above those panels, and it has a new HVAC system. So
We'll see.
it still would be more energy efficient to have double doors, but I don't think they have quite the struggles trying to maintain temperature that they used to.
Boy, as long as we have these big windows here.
Just heat the heck
this
out of the
is nothing
basement,
but
all
a
right.
solar room here. During the day, today, it got so hot in here, we opened the door for a while.
Yes.
And today wasn't a real warm day. I spent most of it on the lakes down here, at the 2 fishing ponds, with a couple people from
Ecology.
Ecology, yes, at our wastewater treatment. Okay, next thing on the agenda is public comments.
I'll wait till everybody else comments, because I have something to say.
Yes, sir.
There are a couple things. You realize that you can bill the requester for your public records request, and also, staff, you can charge for staff time.
Thank you.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, when the public records request, you can charge per page and you can also charge for staff time. But you have to have that in place already in your fee schedule and adopted prior to the request. You're aware of that, I'm sure.
The pages we charged and postage.
And staff time?
No, we did not charge for staff
Well,
time
I would suggest making an amendment to,
to our ordinance.
yes, and that way you can charge for the staff time it takes to do that. Yeah, secondly, I don't know if would happen here or not, but the government and the state has the ability, if they would want to cite a drug rehabilitation or a counseling site or an intensive behavioral site here in town, they have the ability to do so. What I'm going to suggest is that once a year, you can open your comp plan, and I would suggest amending your comp plan to add some additional restrictions to that. And I would, as a suggestion, wraparound services, so that there's services available outside of this facility if it would ever happen. Because the state could come in here and they decide they see a building here or something, they could put it, they could put it here and you wouldn't have a thing to say.
So like a detention center?
No.
Nothing like that?
I'm talking about intensive behavioral health, substance abuse, getting counseling, but think of the type of people that would be coming through here. And although you can't stop it, through your comp plan, you would want to say we can put additional restrictions that these folks would need so that that is in place. This is to protect your community.
Right.
And that would be a suggestion that I would make. Thirdly, I am going to run. I'm going to take another stab at the public, the FOIA bill or the public records request bill, because there's too many communities that you make the request, you fulfill the request, and do it in a timely manner. The petitioner waits about a year, because this is very common, and then he'll come back and say, I didn't get all the information. Well, yeah, you did. Well, then he goes to court, and then you have to settle that with, well, I'm going to try to fix that. I do not want to, I want the information available to the public, but I don't want the gotcha. Because that's wrong, and it's holding up too many of my smaller communities, and bigger ones, for that matter, that go through. There's a guy, he does this for a living. He's from Vashon Island. And this is regularly what he does. I had one mayor in my district. He watched the guy, and it was all papered. He said he had a stack like this, and he watched him walk out of the office and dump it in the garbage. It wasn't about the information; it was about the gotcha. And I'm going to try to fix the gotcha. And that's all I have. Happy to take questions afterwards, or if you have questions for me that I can try to answer.
You sure that's all? I mean,
I think we do, but we'd like to talk to you off mic.
Sure.
Well, I have a comment on the issue of the behavioral health. So, Lincoln County did have an alcohol drug center, and it closed its doors in August. Stevens County is now part of, in Lincoln County, and we have a mental health facility. It's co-occurring, so it's SUD and mental, and that's in Davenport. And so we have lawyers and we have worse. So it's not really a judgment of the type of people that actually come through our city. But there is one.
But that's not
in
fair of
Lincoln.
me to say. What I was after and referring to is that if the state wanted to put a facility here, you would have nothing to say about it. I want you to have a say about it and to be able to protect your citizens and make sure the proper services are available to the folks that would make use of those, of the services.
Just don't have
That's
any
my
empty
point.
building.
In Davenport, unfortunately, in Stevens County,
Well, it's finding a provider, is the problem.
and that's part of the problem with the other.
Yes. Trust me, it's an issue, I'm sorry.
So,
Would you
so
recommend that Ms. Harley, the lady has that kind of language, under suggested plagiarism in the system?
Sure.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can help, try to help you put up with something, or put something together. I just want a chance for your citizens to be able to voice their opinion and allow you some element of control over this situation.
Right.
And I don't know of any other mechanism to do so. And so I've been going, anytime I go to a city council, I am making the same recommendations that when you do open your comp plan, which you do it once a year, consider having something like that included.
I think it's important to every community a choice in that matter.
Yeah, I do too.
So to clarify, when you say that they can put it here, are you talking about they could purchase a building, or they could try to co-opt the building that the city
Eminent
owns?
domain.
I think that if they've found, let's say there was a building here that was set up appropriately for that usage, tell them to find a provider somewhere, and then we're going through, and instead of having to go through like the zoning, a public hearing process, boom, here it is.
Did they this may be a stretch, but you kind of tantalized me a little bit on this. They wouldn't involve schools with any of this, would they? To the facilities and, you know, some of the stuff that that, nothing to do with, nothing down that avenue.
I don't believe so.
Okay. I'm not on the board or nothing, but it just sounds like knowing the state, and knowing what you kind of touched on. I don't want to give them any ideas, I'll shut up.
The reason why they did that, the state did that, is because it oftentimes there's pushback in the community. Of course. Right, NIMBY. And so I think it was an extreme, rather than making sure the proper services were there, you know, the wraparound services, you know, that help these folks. To do it that way, to make it work. And I can cite you a community where right now it's a nightmare. And it's not too far away from here. And it's I'm just concerned, but letting you know my concerns and how you can protect yourself. Does that community have a police service there? Yeah. They have their own police service. And we contract through the county, through the sheriff. Well, a lot of the communities do the same thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
I can see some problem, and so I'm just giving you fair warning. Thank you.
You see this kind of thing in the wind then, is it,
Yeah, I do,
It's actually happening.
yes.
I was just going to ask the lady, I forget your name, I apologize. Donita? Donita, sorry. Didn't mean to butcher it for the record. You mentioned, I remember seeing the article about the facility in Davenport, and my mind escapes me now what it all involved. What closed that down? Was it a money issue?
So it was a money issue.
Okay.
It was a money issue. Most behavioral health facilities, such as like Wilson County, I apologize, Beaver County, which is near mine, we're really medically funded. And so a lot of people who, a lot of the SU people are pretty much, a lot of them are co-ordered, and a lot of mental health is self-help, but there's not a lot of money
Well,
there. In Lincoln County, for that part, our numbers were way down, and so, it was actually a money issue.
okay.
And we weren't at the point of losing money, but it was getting there. It was just going. So Stevens County stepped in and offered, because Lincoln County was only substitute versus Stevens County is substitute.
Okay. Well, since they're mandating it's, you know, that, excuse me, so they can come in and do this, it didn't make sense why, if they can do, you know, want these facilities and then not support them, you know, I mean, that's, you know, mandated or, yeah, then they should,
Well, it's not that, they will find a provider to come down here, and he says, yeah, it looks good, you know, run the numbers. But he has labor problems just like anyone else, just like they have here in Lincoln County. It's expensive, and with Medicaid reimbursement, although there's gonna be another 9% bump in pay first of the year.
so,
But there's another 9 coming. But let me just real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Once a person, and it takes 40,000 hours of supervised oversight to get your license.
mhm.
Once you get your licensure, what often people are doing, they can go to the private sector, set their own rates, work as hard as they want to, and be full. And that's what many of them are doing. So we're having a hard time keeping those that deal with the Medicaid population in that sector in public health. They go to the private sector, which I can't blame them, but that's what's happening. We're trying to remedy that through higher wages and more workforce, so we're not burdening these folks.
Right. When you talk about providers, so I understand, are you referring to like psychologists, counselors, what professional level?
Mental health professionals,
So that-
MTP. But you're saying you can get that license in 4,000 hours? It takes them 4,000 supervised hours I mean, what's a
Apprenticeship
year's
type?
wages, 2,080 hours? So you're talking,
Okay.
Oh, yeah, a mental health provider has to have a master's degree.
okay,
There's a lot of restrictions
Okay.
to
In what?
getting your license.
Yeah, right.
that takes more than
And a
4,000 hours.
psych-
Underwater basket weaving.
Well, it's substance use, a
Underwater.
substance use professional does not have a master's. A mental health professional does have that. But the problem is, and what he's saying is that thing is, it takes a lot of hours, and it's not a quick fix. It's not, you come in and you're gonna see the counselor, that mental health counselor, or the SUD counselor, and you're gonna see him for 2 hours, and you're gonna need treatment. And so that treatment is additional hours that client has to come in, which costs. And so, like Stevens County, which is who I work for now, we are Medicaid, we accept Medicaids, we're funded by them, and so we have an obligation to accept Medicaid clients. Our providers find that there's more money in the private sector, and so they go off. That's why that's such a provider shortage, is because they're off accepting,
Private pay.
private pay and, insurance, whereas we're Medicaid, we don't take personal insurance.
And that's the problem we find, and that is actually an area that I work in all the time in the legislature. And, I am pretty concerned, and I don't want to talk about it because I could talk, like I said, for a long time, and it's for another time. But those three things I wanted to talk about, and thank you for allowing me the chance to speak. And I apologize for being late. I actually had you starting at 7:30.
Oh, you're fine. Thank you for coming.
I'll talk to you about
Fair enough.
Peter,
I'd like to close with a compliment. I spent 14 years on the city council, and before tonight, we never had a representative appear at one of our meetings. I'd like to compliment Representative Smith and thank him for his presence here tonight, particularly given the distance we had to drive to get here.
Well, I appreciate that, Peter. I've made it a goal of mine to get to every one of my city councils, but since y'all meet on the same nights.
It takes a while.
And I think I have about 40. So
Wow.
I'm working at it.
So we're gonna get you a private jet.
Is this
I
thing
just-
even on?
I just have to
Yes,
dodge
sir.
the view.
Well, thank you for coming,
yes, we appreciate that.
as well as the rest of the audience. It means a lot to us to have the input.
No, I've got something.
I'm dying to hear this
We're
too.
waiting, Mike.
I'm very thankful they took that tree down, because it was gonna back up someday if we ever really get a snowfall, and that's it for a runoff. The apartments could be underwater. And there is a problem on that ditch with some retaining walls that have put in years ago. The one right behind my place fell in about 4 or 5, well, Paul was the mayor, and he looked at it,
Where
and
exactly?
it's still that way.
It's still laying in
Paul's
there.
been
Still
isn't it?
laying in the ditch.
Paul's been gone since 19, so.
Yeah, there you go.
But out of
Good
office
idea.
before that. So
But-
where exactly the location? are we talking?
It's the ditch that runs, oh gosh,
All the way from almost the railroad
Start-
track.
other side of the,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
other side of the
About
highway.
100 yards
The
down.
other side of the
Yeah,
railroad
other side of the
tracks?
highway. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think
yeah,
the Army
that whole
Corps of
field
Engineers
out
put
there.
that in.
It's a big, pretty good sized drainage area.
yes, it is.
And we really haven't got that much snow or that much runoff. I've seen maybe 2 or 3 feet in the 10 years I've been there, and that's maybe once. And, not Billy,
Gordon?
who was the clerk before? I can't think of
Bunny.
Bunny?
Bunny.
Bunny, Billy, yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, Bunny said, well, we've never really had one all the years she's been there, except I think they sandbagged the apartments or something a little farther down.
Back in
Where those-
95.
Early 90s.
95?
Yeah, where the ditch and that other stream and the ditch come together,
Yep.
someplace in there, having a problem, but you never know, you know.
Well, prior to that, they did some excavating, or, so they cleaned the channel of the creeks and stuff. That helped out too. In fact, it probably needs it again.
Oh,
It does.
I'm sure it does, yeah.
From stem to stern.
But that's not why I'm here. I'm thinking about the future, and I know that you have to live under a rock to not understand that this country's starting to go through some pretty dramatic things. With the open border,
Here, here.
and FBI, the Border Patrol, everybody is saying it's not if, but it's when we're gonna have big things happening, because they believe that there's lots of terrorists in this country because they've just been able to walk over the border, and people that have actually met some of those guys that they happen to actually catch said they're not just Joe Blow, they're fit soldiers. These guys are in trouble. Now, I just say that to kind of prime the pump about thinking about the future in this place. You know, you can go without food for quite a while, but you can't go without water for 3 days. 3 days is pretty bad. Now, and you have to fill me in on a lot of this, but I understand we have a artesian well. There's actually, on a slope, so there's some positive pressure. And I was wondering if we couldn't explore, and that shouldn't be real expensive, putting in a manual pump in one of the pump stations, whichever one works the best. So if we did have things go down, like the generator that's available to do the pumping, if that goes down, or who knows what, we would manually get water out of the ground.
And a good old-fashioned windmill.
Well, or even
They used to work forever.
or even that. I mean, if you're trying to, a gallon per person per day is pretty much what you got to figure. People would be happy to walk over there with a bucket and get it if there's no other place for water. And I just think that it should be considered. Some kind of a hookup that would, check it out once a year or whatever, make sure it still works, it holds its seal. So we'd have that, it'd just be nice.
That and possibly a generator backup to run those wells.
I think we have one, don't we?
No, we do not.
Ooh, I was told at one time we did.
That was my next question to you, is what generator are you speaking of?
I guess the one in my
The
garage.
one in my garage?
Yeah, it's the one in my garage.
I don't think my generator is capable of running a 50-horse motor.
Yeah, I don't think mine is either. But that's a good question then. We don't even have that.
No.
And that's limited by how much gasoline you can get or whatever it runs on.
Anything that would run a 50-horse motor is probably going to run on a diesel.
You think we could squeeze that out of the governor? You got a generator?
Harrington does have plenty of money.
Harrington, what?
Well,
Where's that?
we've got all that money that's gonna be not
You always have money.
subsidizing garbage.
He's
I'm
got-
just
Joe, that's
putting that
something for you
out
to
there,
think about.
so.
Harrington's off my list.
There's nothing wrong, especially with, relations with China, in all honesty.
Yep.
There is that, what are they called, EMPs?
Oh, yeah,
There is that possibility, there is nothing wrong with that.
just got a pacemaker.
Absolutely, I mean,
Won't
I'm
have to
not
worry about it.
I'm not a prepper and all that, but it doesn't have to do that, and he's right, the state doesn't.
Well, no comment.
I just wanted it to be in the minutes that it was brought up. What you fellas do with it, is up to you. If that makes sense to you to even, I know there's pump outfits, they make their business doing pumps, and I'm sure they're capable of putting in
We'll put up
stuff
a
for
wind,
homes.
a wind generator and solar power. That one. But,
Is that sarcasm?
which I don't, but all that stuff you're kind of mentioning, we're in it's a work in progress with our pumps and our water system. So that's something we'll probably address when that's on the burner.
I have made note of
Thank you. That was the reason I was here, not all the smart aleck comments I was going to otherwise.
We appreciated those, by the way.
And I,
Any other comments from the audience? I'm going to hand the mic to this gentleman.
Move to
Our agenda is
Move to adjourn.
there a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same?
good night, everyone.
Meeting's adjourned, 8:45. That's record.
Are we all?